Boom, just walking out of London Real Studios, and what an epic day it was. I got to sit down with a living legend of gastronomy, and that is HESTON BLUMENTHAL. And funny enough, I had met Heston 11 years ago when I took a client in the city, a fellow banker, out to his restaurant, The Fat Duck, and I was blown away by the experience, by the neuroscience, by the way it challenged my brain about everything I thought I knew about food and experience and taste. And I got to talk to him that night, and I took a picture with him outside by the front door, and he was really kind of quiet and shy, and he was like, yeah, I don't really like coming out and talking to customers, but I have to do it. And it was just amazing to meet him then, and then to sit down with 3 hours today was just epic. And here's a man who is known around the world for his cuisine and his interpretation of food and the creation of things like crab ice cream, and the guy that put an iPod in one of his fish dishes and played you sounds of the seas in order to give you just a better experience. And this is a guy who shows us how great and wonderful it is to be a human through food. And you have that one instance during the meal where you're like, wow, I'm so grateful to be in this world and tasting these things. And you know, he does it through food, and in London Real we do it through content, and maybe you do it through what you're passionate about in your art, but Heston does it through food, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And he had so much wisdom. You know, we actually didn't really talk about food that much, which is strange. We talked about life, and he said that perfection is the enemy of creativity, and that if you want to go out there and do things like he has, you can't really worry about the consequences or trying to be right. You've got to make mistakes. And he also said something else. He said at one of his pubs called the Hind's Head in Bray, right next to the Fat Duck, there's something inscribed on the mantle that had been there for years and he hadn't noticed it. And it said this. It said, "Fear knocks on the door, faith answers." And no one was there. Think about that. Fear knocked on the door, faith answered, and no one was there. And that's Heston basically explaining that we all live in a weird place of fear. And if you have faith, you're willing to go through the door. And then once you do that, you realize that no one was there. In other words, none of this matters, because we'll all be dead someday. So why not have faith and take action and go through your fear? And that's one of the many things I learned from the OG gangster of gastronomy himself today, Mr. HESTON BLUMENTHAL. I really treasured the time. He was so real. He talked honestly about everything. He loved the format. He's been watching Sadhguru and David Icke, and he's been watching London Real for a while, which in itself is a massive honor. And I just learned a lot about this man today, who uses food to get us more connected in this world where we're disconnected, and get us more connected with our nourishment, which we're really disconnected in. And it's amazing that this man can find art and meaning in something that we think is just sustenance. And that's such a beautiful thing from such a beautiful man. So Heston, thank you so much for coming on today. He's going to come back because we just got warmed up at 2.5 hours. We could have gone for 5 hours. And it was a real pleasure and a big one for me because I've been such a fan of his for so long. So thank you so much to Heston. I hope you got to watch the episode. It'll be out soon on YouTube. And think about that quote today and think about how that could change your life. Fear knocked on the door, faith answered, and no one was there. Much love from London Real.